Hey, yo, 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 it's Ugly Truck Driver. How the flock are you? Well, I'm doing one of these old school things from when I used to live up in New Jersey and used to sit in my bathroom and make videos. People that have been on my sites for a long time remember them. Well, now that I'm down here, I don't do them too often, but I thought I'd do this as a spoof. I want you to listen to something, okay? Right here. That's called going down the toilet. I know, I'm crazier than dog poop. I was sitting there watching the Weather Channel. And anybody, unless they've had their head up their butt or in the sand, knows that, like the northern 1/3 of the United States is up to its butt in snowstorms, rain, ice, you name it. And of course, like Boston and up into New Hampshire and all that, they're getting hammered. They've had Snowzilla, if you know what I mean. And I was having to think, because if you look on some of my older videos here about global warming and climate change and stuff like that, I'm sitting here and I'm saying, geez, we haven't heard anything from the United Nations or Al Gore or the rest of those types, like John Kerry, global warming, climate change, it's worse threat than whoever. And, Obama. My prime thing here is we're going to confront global warming and climate change. And of course, the UN, the biggest bunch of liars on the face of the earth with their carbon footprint crap, have been dead silent since a bunch of people like me, or John Coleman, who was the founder of the Weather Channel, came out and put out a 40-minute video telling you that climate change is normal and global warming is BS. Geez, it seems like all these morons who made this phony hockey stick thing and monkeyed with the numbers to make it look good got put down by scientists. Lord Monckton, who's a mathematician, whether you're talking about carbon dioxide or methane, that's cows farting, on how it's going to tear our cotton-picking atmosphere apart. And people are still buying this. Honest to God, the libtards, the socialists, the low mentality voters are still buying this. Remember Al Gore's movie, An Inconvenient Truth? We're going to heat up the world by 4 or 5 degrees. The ice caps are going to melt. The ocean's going to rise by 50 feet. Florida's going to be underwater. Long Island, Manhattan won't exist any longer. You remember all that? That's going back, 10, 12 years now? The polar bears are dying off. And then you get people like NASA. Sat there and did pictures from Antarctica, and they did pictures from the North Pole, where the ice pack has grown. The polar bears are doing just fine, thank you. And these climate change types, I want you to understand something, okay? Used to be global warming. And when all of a sudden we wouldn't buy it, they went and they changed the terminology to climate change. Well, these climate change types, about a year and a half ago, decided they're going to take a boat trip down to Antarctica to show how the ice shelves are melting and falling into the sea. And what happens to them? They get caught in pack ice, and it takes a couple of icebreakers from foreign countries to come in and rescue them. They've been dead quiet since, haven't they? You know what? How many times do I have to tell you people, when it comes to, quote, global warming and climate change, the majority of it is BS? Where do I get my reference from? Oh, how about my 9th grade science teacher back in about 1960, Mr. Hirstein, when we studied the solar system. I've put it up before, but I'll give you a quick thing on it. The Earth rotates, wobbles on its axis. It doesn't always stay in one position. The Earth also rotates around the sun, and it's not in a perfect circle. Sometimes it can be oblong, gets closer to the sun, gets farther away to the sun. Add that in with a wobble of the axis of the poles. The fact that the sun heats up and cools down all on its own. Right now we're in a cooling period with the sun for the last 11 years. And there has been no measurable increase in solar activity or the fact that the Earth's atmosphere has heated up, maybe by 1 Celsius. That's like 1.5 degrees. But see, what everybody forgets are all the ice ages we've had. I think the most recent one that we can recall, if you go check history, was back, I think, in the 1700s over in England, when they had several years of a very bitter winter where the Thames in England was frozen over solid. You could walk across the Thames. The English Channel had ice in it, not salt water. And you would sit there and find pictures and drawings by famous artists of all these things that happened, which has been documented. It wasn't made up like this movie on An Inconvenient Truth about solar heating by Al Gore and his company. And let's add into the simple fact that old Al Gore with his... Remember he had that TV station? And he was this climate change freak as he jumps on his jet and flies all over the world and leaves his carbon footprint as he talks his stuff. And then went and sold his TV station, him and his buddies, to Al Jazeera. Who's that? That's a big oil company over in the Middle East. Made $500 million on the sale because they wanted an access here on cable in the United States to spew their garbage. So old Al Gore and his buddies walked away with $500 million before the tax rate changes back in 2013, so he didn't get whacked on taxes. Instead of letting it go into 2014, walked away with his $500 million. Been dead silent since. You don't hear Jack Dooley squat out of him. But you've got Obama, John Kerry, and a few others out there, especially in the United Nations, you know, those global scientists. Well, you know what? If you really do the facts and do the investigation, these reports put out by these global scientists at the UN are all BS. They've manipulated the numbers. They've cooked the books. And yet you keep buying this. So here we are right now. The northeast third of the United States is covered. I think Boston's got, 7 to 9 foot of snow. Over to Michigan. You got ice down into Kentucky. Down here where I live in Georgia, I mean, okay, we get down to the 20s at night, maybe up to the 40s during the day. We haven't been hit hard. And of course, you get the guys out on the left coast. Well, nothing's happened for us lately. Hey, you know what? El Nino happens. Go look at the flow out of the Arctic, the airflow, and how it goes up and down and up and down. You know, what was it Al Roker was saying last year? The polar vortex is here. Yeah, well, the next time somebody wants to talk to you about the fact that we've got global warming or climate change, okay, go look up some facts before you run your diarrhea mouth. Because you know what? It's just Mother Nature, the Earth, the sun, the planets doing their thing, and you and I have no control over it. So wake up, smell a coffee, put on an extra set of long johns, and in the summer, if you've got a hot summer, get out there in the yard and get tan, man. You know what I mean, Vern? So that's it. I just happened to think, because I was sitting there watching the news and sitting there watching everybody sitting there saying, oh, this is such a terrible winter. I remember the winter of 57 when I lived in Vineland and I was going to school. I think it was, 5th grade. Had snow up to my waist and I walked to school. And when I got to school, I was frozen. I was wet. They had to call my mother, worked at a radio station, to bring me dry clothes. We went to school that day with about 2.5 feet of snow on the ground. We didn't get days off. Anybody that goes back that far into the 50s remembers what I'm talking about. Snow was just another thing we had to deal with. Get over it, learn how to drive in it, and there's times truly, as a professional truck driver, there's times like when you get black ice and all that, get off the road and park it. Even a dumb truck driver knows that. So anyhow, next time somebody starts throwing this global warming, climate change stuff on you, just remember, John Coleman, who was the founder of the Weather Channel, has poo-pooed all this stuff. Lord Monckton, quite a few scientists. I can bring you up link after link after link where these people like John Kerry and Obama and the United Nations. The United Nations, the only reason they keep pushing it, they want that $4 billion a year that our government gives them for support. But I don't know nothing. I'm just a dumb truck driver. Have a good one. Enjoy the snow. What the heck? Maybe go outside and have a barbecue. I've done that in the snow. Truck driver said so. Bye-bye.